body makes these organs work so simultaneously and continuously all the time? So this is the question number one. And the second question is, if you see any of your activities such as a sport, so whenever we are like running or we are doing intense, let's say I love football. So let's say when we are playing football, you have to run a lot and you have to be alert a lot. So your pace changes, your position changes, and you keep on running and running and running up and down, up and down, up and down. So as it keeps on going, now what happens is your body and your tissues, because of the contractions that we're doing, obviously, right? So when we're doing muscular contraction is happening, we understood how muscular contraction and all that things happen. So when the muscles are moving, we know that the muscles demand a lot of energy in the form of ATP. And if the muscles require ATP, so the ATP comes through your respiratory process, where the breakdown of glucose takes place in the presence of oxygen. The only source of oxygen that we have is through breathing, or exchange of gases through happens through breathing process, isn't it? So while we breathe in, and then the oxygen gets supplied to our tissues, but it is not the same level, right? So our tissues require more and more oxygen. When you require more and more oxygen, can you just calmly breathe like Buddha? No, you increase your rate of respiration. So you breathe, you gasp for air, and you pant. Okay, you go for panting. Okay, so as you keep on panting, now what happens, people? And then does your heart rate remains slow? Is it only the 72 beats per minute? No, right? It increases very fastly, correct? So your heartbeat is racing, and then your respiratory, your breathing pattern is going up, or the number of times you breathe in, breathe out is increasing. Okay, and then also you heat up, your body heats up a lot, and you keep sweating, and your adrenaline pumps out, and you're all even if you fall down and you bleed, you don't feel a thing, right? So all these things are happening. And imagine if one of your things do not listen to your body. For example, your muscles require oxygen, but your respiratory system says, no, sorry, I'm not going to change my pace of respiration or the pace of breathing. So what would happen? Imagine if your heart says, okay, now the breathing is going faster, but sorry, I'm supposed to beat only these many times, so I will stick to the pace of the heartbeat. If that happens, why what would happen? So you know that this coordinated system is so well placed, and there is a proper interaction between one system to another system, respiratory to circulatory, circulatory to excretory system, and the supply of this oxygen to your brain. All of that has to happen very coordinately, so that you perform one function. Let's say it's just running or playing football, or anything that is intense activities that we talk about, right? So this is just a broad picture of how our body is coordinating. Now, not only this coordination with respect to blood vessels, and the coordination with respect to supply of oxygen, coordination with respect to muscular contraction, not only that, we have one more coordination system. So if you look at the more elaborate coordination system that we have, what is coordination, right? You coordinate with that person, you coordinate, you just talk, communicate, and come to one common decision. Okay, or you make everybody listen to you. That is called as coordination, correct? So one of the most elaborate, perfectly placed coordination system in our body is not neural system, but it is chemical coordination, you see. So when your body, even though let's say that obviously, so when I'm a man, I cannot control the levels of testosterone, or as a human being, I cannot just say, see, look, my exams are there. Okay, my exams are coming. So I cannot tell my brain, I don't want to feel asleep. Okay, I don't want to feel sleepy. Okay, and you don't have to release any of this hormone called as melatonin. Please don't release melatonin, because I don't want the sleep cycle. I don't want to be 12 hours awake and 12 hours sleepy. My exams are coming. I want to be 20 hours awake. Does your body listen to you? No. Okay. Now I am 20. Let's say now I am 16 years old. Okay, you, not me. So I'm 16 years old. I want to remain 16 years old for another 10 years. Does your body listen? No, right? So hormonal coordination or the chemical coordination happens so drastically, so slowly, so perfectly. It tells your organs or it tells your tissues when to divide, when to stop dividing, okay, or when to respond. Yeah, uh, Shamila. Sorry, if I got your wrong name. Okay, name wrong. Yeah, please tell me. You raised your hand. Anything? Yeah, no problem. No problem. Okay. I thought you had a doubt. So, anyways, what was I talking about? Yeah, we were talking about chemical coordination, right? So chemical coordination is so well placed system, but it is so slow. It is very, very, very slow. Correct, right? So there is one of the slowest systems we have is the chemical coordination, and then we have inter-organ system coordination that happens to keep our physiology in a balance. But as an organism, can we just rely on these two systems is a biggest question mark. So it is not at all possible for an organism living on our planet, or any, we know that organisms are on our planet only, right? So if you look at us who live on this planet, we are not alone. We come with a lot of friends. Okay, now we are all very well developed, and we have a lot of defense system, and you have incredible capacity to defend yourself with guns and bazookas and tanks. But imagine yourself without any defense, with your nails, and you have nails, not claws, with your eyes, ears, and the smell, okay, and the teeth that you're provided with. These are your weapons. Imagine that you survive in a wild. Okay, imagine that you're living among the forest where there are hell lot of predators around you. So what do you need? First of all, you need senses, right? You need to be very sharp. You need to understand your environment. You need to understand the difference that happens with the environment. For example, you touch a hot pan. Okay, imagine your body is not able to sense it. If you're not able to sense a hot pan, what will happen? Your tissues will start burning until the bone. Correct, right? So it requires your body to protect itself from the changes that happens in your environment. Okay, the sight gives you a certain sense, the thought gives you a certain sense, the hearing gives you a certain sense. Even the hearing is responsible for body balance and the way you walk, and and the way you maintain your posture. So hearing makes that difference. You see, similarly the smell gives you whether the food, whether it is food, whether it is waste, whether it is edible, whether it is non-edible, right? So with the smell itself you can understand so many things. So if I blindfold you and if I give you vanilla and blackcurrant, wouldn't you be able to tell which is what? I know that your nose game or the nose smelling game is very weak compared to dogs and other organisms. But as a human being, let's just understand how much of senses we require on a regular basis. Okay, so who tells you food? Okay, now it's your time. You just have to move slowly from stomach to small intestine. Correct, right? And who tells that look, my fellow, your bladder is full, you need to go and urinate? Who tells us this? Okay, and so many other functions like entire alimentary canal, it might be control over excretory systems, it might be, or the amount of blood that is being supplied, it might be, okay, or your stimulus to your external environment, it might be. It requires a faster, okay, very efficient coordination system, a fast efficient coordination system. When it comes to fast efficient coordination system, there comes neural system. Nerve system is beautiful. Nerve system has taken a lot of evolutionary time, okay, to perfect what you are today. Okay, it's the same goes with heart, same goes with kidney, same goes with any other things. But when it comes to brain, when it comes to the nerves, when it comes to how you have evolved and how organisms have evolved, it is a magnificent story, and it is an art actually to understand how the brain has developed. Okay, so anyways, let's try to understand a little bit about this. Okay, this was the introduction. So obviously we'll be studying these topics. Let's get on to the topic itself. So now, as I told you, when we talk about a nerve system, our nerve system is not just limited to the brain itself. Okay, some people, many of the people, very important thing. Okay, many of the people like us, who are into sports, okay, or who are into building body, okay, what do we think? We think that, look, there is 80 kg of weights on the bell bar. Okay, that body weightlifters, they lift this bars, they're called as bell bars. So let's say that, okay, I just bend and I lift it. Okay, I'm supposed to lift a lot of weights. My dear students, it's very sorry. If you look at your back, you know that there is a bone that is running in your back, which we call it as the backbone. So the backbone, even though it's a bone, it's not meant for you to lift weights or to support your body with mechanical support. No, the major function of this spinal cord that runs throughout the length of your, from the uppermost part of your neck, all the way till your tailbone, it's to support a complex nerve system, okay, which we call it as the spinal nerves, okay, or the spinal cord. So as I was saying, our nerve system is not just limited to brain itself. It includes brain, it includes spinal cord and nerves, plexus, ganglions, etc. Okay, and all these integrate together to give you overall output. Okay, so what do we have in central nervous system? It includes brain, it includes spinal cord, it includes ganglion, it includes nerves. Okay, so ganglion are basically a group of neurons, okay, where they form a localized what you tell localized communication system. We'll talk about it. Okay, so this is about what is included in our nerve system. So all this, whether it is brain or spinal cord or the nerves, one of the most important component, that is the basic unit in which the nerve system functions, is by the specialized cells called as neurons, which is one of the largest cells in human body. Okay, now coming to evolution of nerve system, as I was told, even if you see very simplest organisms like hydra, so even hydra, they show this development of a system where they try to coordinate their body. If you see in hydra, what you can see is it is just network of neurons. Okay, you can see here there is a proper network of neurons. Okay, so there is no thinking a mechanism that is having with a complex brain, nothing. So what they do is they develop a ring-like structure with a group of neurons. Through the ring-like structures, what they do is they elaborate their nerves, okay, throughout the length of the body, just having a network of neurons, okay, throughout the length of the body. So this circular structure that was included, okay, with the that was formed by the group of neurons, it is called as ganglia or ganglion. So this ganglia actually performs like a brain, or it functions like a brain, and it controls the movement of these tentacles, okay, understanding its environment, temperature differences, okay, or to understand whether it is prey or predator, or even it helps in movement of this hydra from one place to another place. Okay, so this is one very minute, very primitive nerve system that we can see in the lower organism having this network of neurons. Okay, now coming to the higher organisms like arthropoda or insects, what do we have here is here they have a proper nerve cord. They have a presence of a brain in the head, in the head region, and then you have the presence of a nerve cord that starts from thorax all the way till the abdomen. Okay, it goes down the abdomen. So here what you can see is at the the nerve cord that is formed, it creates a cluster of neurons in the form of ganglia, and through these ganglia some lateral nerves project throughout the length of the body, in the abdomen region, into to the wings, okay, to the thorax, to the neck movement. So they have a little more complexity, where the nerve system and the brain, okay, it coordinates with the sight, having the compound eye, it coordinates with the chemical senses that is present in the antenna, it coordinates the movement of legs, okay, or the appendages that they have. It also helps them in flight and flight balance, okay, and it understands in reproductive behavior or understanding prey predator relationships. Okay, so many things, isn't it? So all this you can see with the increase in the complexity of the brain or increase in the complexity of the nerve system, the functions become more and more, okay, and the capability of this organism to live in an environment becomes more and more. Okay, so this is about your insects. Okay, but when we talk about vertebrates like fishes, reptiles, aves, mammalia, so from reptile, we can't just ignore them. They also have this complex nerve, neural system. But if you compare these reptiles and amphibians and mammals, all of them, if you compare, you can see that mammals are very elaborate when it comes to neural system, right? So most developed neural system you can see in vertebrates, and mammals have the highest evolution of nerve system. So obviously we consider ourselves as the most intelligent organism on the planet. Okay, I know that we consider that some of the people like us or the people who are around us are pretty dumb. But overall, as a species, we can see what we have done over a period of time since we are put on this planet, right? So it's better to study human neural system to understand the overall mechanism of how this function, how this works. So if I talk about human nerve system, okay, I can divide this entire human nerve system into two important categories. Okay, so based on position as well as function, I can divide them. So one is central nerve system, and the second category is peripheral nerve system. So the central nerve system, it includes only the brain and the spinal cord. Even though I use the term called only, okay, as only, but you know how much of influence they have throughout the nerve system. So almost 70% of your stimulation, it happens because of brain and spinal cord. Okay. So what do you have in the central nervous system? Central nervous system includes two important parts. One is the brain, other one is the spinal cord. And the second one is the peripheral nerve system. So in peripheral nerve system, apart from brain and spinal cord, okay, the rest of the neurons that is going to your eyes, the neurons that is going to your tongue, the neurons that is going to your senses of your nose, similarly the neurons that controls your breathing, okay, thorax, or your intestines, or the entire elementary canal you can take, or the limbs, okay, and the digits in the limbs, okay, and the skin, all of them, all the nerves that are apart from your brain and the spinal cord, they are called as peripheral nerves or peripheral nerve system. Okay, are you following, students? Are you able to understand? Is it fast? Are you able to hear me? Just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's continue then. Thank you for the response. Yeah. So as I told you, apart from the brain and the spinal cord, the rest of the nerve system that is distributed across the body, they fall under peripheral nerve system. But not all peripheral nerve system are same. Okay. Some of the peripheral nerves, we have it under our control, and some of the peripheral nerves, we don't have it under our control. Okay, let me give you an example. Imagine that you swallow something, you felt like it is good, but unfortunately you have swallowed. Okay, let's say that I'm a vegetarian and I don't know, and I have ordered crispy veg roll, and they have given me crispy chicken roll and then I have taken a bite of it, and then I have swallowed it, and it has gone here until my upper throat. Okay, I had control of it, to gag and to spit it out. Okay, because I don't like it mentally and psychologically. It's animal cruelty, something. I'm wired like that, maybe. Okay, but what happens if it just goes a little bit lower? Do I have control over it? Absolutely not. The peristalsis will take control of it. Okay, now just because I had some great dinner, do I tell my digestive system to slow down? Look, I don't want to be hungry because I want to preserve the flavor in my mouth. Does it stop there? No, right? So there are some parts of your body, such as your excretory system, your alimentary canal, you see, they are not under your control. The movement of the food from esophagus, lower esophagus to the stomach, from stomach to small intestine to large intestine, and the rectum, all of this, you don't have it under your control. Similarly, the urine that is filling up in the bladder, and the bladder expansion, and the bladder telling you, okay, the signals that are created by this, contraction of the bladder, at one point, we don't have control over it. So anything that we don't have control over it, and they are in the direct control of CNS. Okay, they are in the direct control of what? CNS, that is central nervous system. Okay, central nervous system control this autonomic nervous system. Okay, they are called as autonomic nervous system. Sorry, I wrote it in the wrong place. Okay. So this autonomic nerve system, you remember when we were talking about excretion, I gave you an example. Okay. It's a better example to understand because we face it twice or thrice a day. Okay. Now, while I was talking about urination, I told you that the bladder has stretch receptors. So the urine starts filling up and suddenly we get a signal telling that you have to go now. Okay. And even though you feel that urgency, but after some time you say, shut up. Now you tell your brain, right? Quiet. Now it's not the time because we are in a classroom or I'm in the wrong place. So I have to look for the washroom. Just wait for some time. After that, you don't feel the urgency for some time. Again, it has to stimulate for after some time, right? So why did it happen? So that happens because, see, when the bladder stretched, immediately the stretch receptors send a signal to your central nervous system, that is your spinal cord, and then the spinal cord says, "Oh, is it? The bladder is expanded now. Okay, contract. Okay, the bladder starts contracting, and then you say, "Oh no, now it's I feel the urgency." Now this what do you call exaggeration, or this telling go go go, oh my god, this is happening, okay, you have to go now, all this activities that comes with panic. Okay, so the panic is coming because of parasympathetic neural system. Parasympathetic says you have to go right now. Okay, and then what happens, you just thought about it, isn't it? Is it the time? No, it's not the time. Okay, I need some time to just find myself a place. So now what happened, you sent a thought to your brain and the brain sends a signal to your central nervous system and says, ask your bladder to relax for some time. Okay, now the one that tells relax, nothing's happening, is called as sympathetic nerve system. Okay, the story is good. What happened, we have parasympathetic neurons or nerve system. In peripheral nerve system, we have two types. One is somatic nerve system, other one is called as autonomic nerve system. So autonomic is something we don't have control over. And when we're talking about autonomic nerve system, we talked about two kinds of simulation here. One that tells you have to do it now, and that one that tells calm down, okay, relax, you don't have to stimulate now, you can stimulate it later. One that says now, one that says later. One that says now is called as parasympathetic, and one that says later is called as sympathetic nerve system. Okay, and the next one comes is the somatic nerve system. So the somatic parts are under your conscious control. For example, the movement of your neck, okay, the movement of your eyes, the speech that you produce through your tongue, okay, and the movement of your limbs and the movement of your forelimbs and hind limbs, all of them come under somatic nerve system. You understand my point? Okay, so this is the categorization of human nerve system. Okay, I hope you are following. Did you understand? Yeah, perfect. So let's go for the next topic. Yeah. One second, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. When you talk about the CNS, okay, the brain and the CNS we told, right? So what is CNS? The central nerve system. The central nerve system includes your brain as well as your spinal cord. Okay, that includes your central nerve system. It is very, very, very complex system when you talk about central nerve system. Okay, so basically what happens is there is the receiving, processing, and sending of information that is happening. It understands what, for example, when you look at something, it has to receive this optical signals, okay, and then it has to process it and then send a feedback back to your organs or back to your thought process or whatever it is. So that happens with the central nervous system, where the information processing thing happens. Okay, so when you talk about the peripheral nerve system, even the peripheral nerve system are associated with this are not associated with your CNS, but they're not a part of your what do you tell? Sorry, where did I, yeah, they're not a part of your CNS, but they are associated with the CNS. For example, as I told you, you can see here. Okay, you can see here the best example I will give you. Okay, see, let's say that you have your spinal cord, isn't it? In the spinal cord, we know that we have cervical, and then we have thoracic, and then we have lumbar, and then we have sacral. So this is cervical, and this is lumbar. Till here is lumbar. Okay, till here is lumbar. Let's say, sorry, this is cervical, this is thoracic, this is lumbar, this is sacral. Okay, now what happens, let's talk about our lumbar. Okay, this is L, usually lumbar. So look at the nerves that is going from the spinal cord of the lumbar discs or the lumbar spinal cord. Where does it go? It goes and controls the movement of your legs. Okay, similarly, you look at the nerves that is running from your cervical nerves or the cervical spinal cord, the cervical bones or the cervical spine. Where does it take? It takes to your arms. You see, are you understanding? If you look at your sacral, the sacral regions are intertwined with your urinary bladder and with your kidneys, etc. If you look at your thoracic, okay, if your thoracic nerves, the thoracic nerves are intertwined with your respiratory system, the ribs, okay, and the lungs expansion, as well as your entire alimentary canal. So that is what is called as association with the CNS. Okay, even though the peripheral nerve system, we just tell that, okay, we can divide the entire nerve system into CNS and peripheral nerve system, CNS and PNS, but PNS cannot work with the help without the help of CNS. Okay, now so this is one point about the PNS and the CNS. Now, if you talk about the nerve fibers, what kind of nerve fibers we have? So basically, the nerve fibers of the PNS, that is the peripheral nerve system, there are two types of nerves. One is the afferent nerve fibers, other one is the efferent nerve fibers. Now, I have told you about what is afferent and what is efferent. Afferent is something that is coming from outside. Efferent is something that is going out from inside. Okay, so let's say that this is a box. If it comes from outside to inside, that is called as afferent, and if it goes from inside to outside, that is called as efferent, right? So that is called as afferent and efferent. Now, if I talk about afferent nerves fibers, what do? They take the impulses from the tissue. See, tissue is outside. Where it has to come? It has to come towards the central nerve system or the CNS. From the tissue to the CNS, the nerves that carry them are called as afferent neurons or afferent nerve fibers, we call them. And it is the opposite when it comes to efferent. From the CNS, it goes to the tissue. Okay, this is called as efferent nerve system. Okay, that is how the conduction happens. Okay, so you understand, right? The CNS, basically what it will do, it will take the signal and it will send back to your muscles or tissues. Okay, that is called as efferent nerve fibers. Now, coming to the distinction or how we can understand the PNS. The PNS, as I told you, we have divided them into two important types. One is somatic neural system, other one is autonomic nervous system. Now, I told you that somatic neural system, basically, it sends the impulse to the CNS, okay? And from the CNS, it comes back to the skeletal muscles. It's very simple. Okay, I want to move now. That thought process originates, okay, from your muscles, and then it has to go to the CNS, and the CNS, it has to come back to the muscles, telling them how to contract. Correct, right? If I just have to move, do I move randomly? No, I don't move randomly. I move with a clear distinction of thought. So that to get the clear distinction of the thought, first I have to relay the impulse to the CNS to ask its consent, and the CNS gives a proper refined thought telling that how do you move, where to move, and how much you move. Correct, right? So that is how this relay of this information happens in the somatic nerve system. Coming to autonomic nerve system, what happens is the signal is transmitted. Okay, the signal is transmitted from the CNS, okay, directly to the involuntary organs. Basically, if you talk about somatic nerve system, most of the somatic nerve system, they control skeletal muscles. I hope you know what is skeletal muscles, or we call it as voluntary muscles, such as the muscles of your neck, muscles of your arms and legs. Okay, they are called as somatic muscles. Sorry, skeletal muscles. So they are controlled by somatic nerve system. Whereas when it comes to autonomic nerve system, already I've given examples such as the alimentary canal and the excretory system, the blood vessels. Okay, all of them, they come under smooth muscle category, which you don't have control over. Why you don't have control over? Because autonomic nerve system or autonomous nerve system take control of them. So how do they function? First, the signal generates from the CNS and it is sent to the involuntary organs and the or the smooth muscles, and that is how their function is regulated. You see the difference? First, we have to send a signal to CNS. CNS processes it and sends back to the signal to the skeletal muscles, and then the function starts when it comes to somatic. But when it comes to autonomous, it's not like that. Directly the CNS sends the signals to these involuntary organs, and then they perform based on the guidance of our central nerve system. Are you following? So as I told you, autonomic nerve system is classified into two types. One is sympathetic nerve system, other one is parasympathetic nerve system. Okay. Anyways, so we have even more extensions of the nerve system, and this we call it as the visceral nerve system. Okay, we have beautiful visceral nerve system. Okay, and it is quite responsible for many of the activities. Many of the activities. Okay, so you can see how much of a visceral nerve system we have, such as you have the circular muscles of the eye. Okay, the salivary glands, the lacrimal glands, the tear glands, or your heart or the respiratory tract, and the stomach have plexus. Okay, and then you have your small intestine and the colon, and even the kidneys, the parts of your kidneys. You can see here how much of these organs are intertwined with your visceral nerve system. Okay, now visceral nerve system, they includes a quite complex set of nerves such as optic nerves or gustatory nerves or olfactory nerves, you can call it as, or they might have a specific fibers. Okay, a specific fibers designed for a specific reason, or you might have ganglion. Okay, or you can call it a cervical ganglion. Okay, okay, example of a ganglion is cervical ganglion. And then you have plexus, Meissner's plexus, myenteric plexus. Okay, etc. So where they take the signals, okay, from that particular region and then transmit it to the central nervous system. Okay, from visceral regions to the central nervous system, they send it. Okay, this is called as visceral nervous system. They are quite important. Okay, so now you can see here. Okay, you can just take an example here. You have eyes. Okay, and then you have the intervention of this visceral nerves directly go to the medulla region of your brain. Okay, that's how because you need this visceral nerve system for very quick conduction of your impulses. You see how fast your eyes work and how fast your salivary glands, when you see something sour or when you smell something, how fast you're able to determine or even memorize where you ate that in the last time. So that quickness is possible with the visceral nerve system. Are you following me? And another thing I will give you. Now you have the food in your intestines. Okay, whether it is small intestine or it is in the large intestine. How does it know like where it is present and how it has to be pushed? For every movement that your muscles of your intestine have to do, it's not necessary that all the signals have to originate through sympathetic or parasympathetic. It's not possible literally. Okay, so imagine, I told you, right, when you talk about autonomous nerve system, I told you you have sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves, and they perform the function I had told you. They regulate these organs, but not very let me tell, highly sensitively. They can't do it. To do it 100% precision, they require nerves that are connected at that point, at that position. So if you see in intestines, we have such nerves in the form of plexus. So the plexus, what they do, they can feel the presence of food, the acidity of the food, okay, the composition of the food, and then they can also create these peristaltic movements by regulating this muscles, okay, around them. So these plexus are responsible for stimulation of sending a signal directly to your CNS, so that includes this movement of food in your alimentary canal. Okay, so that is what is peripheral nerve system or visceral nerve system. Sorry. VNS, visceral nerve system, is very, very important. So whenever the visceral nerve system is asked, you remember they are a part of peripheral nerve system. And what does visceral nerve system include? If a question is asked, your answer should be it includes nerves, it includes nerve fibers, or it includes ganglia or plexus. Okay, so this is about visceral nerve system. Clear, people? You have any doubts till now? Plexus. Plexus are localized neurons. Okay, Aisha, I think you are asking this question. Okay, so now I will give you an example. I hope that you have studied digestion and absorption. Have you studied? Yes. So while you are studying the cross section of elementary canal, you understood that we have mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, and serosa or adventitia. Correct? Yes or no? Don't remember? The layers of elementary canal: mucosa, submucosa, muscularis. Sir, the chapter is deleted. I know. It's a terrible thing that they did to you. Okay, it's a beautiful lesson, but they removed it. Huh? Yeah, but I understand. Anyways, I will tell you what is plexus. If you had known that, it would be. Hold on. Deleted, you say? Yeah, I know. It's deleted. It's very sad that it's been deleted. Even I didn't like the idea of that being deleted. Okay, maybe you are happy with it. See, people, nothing. So if I see that this is the elementary canal, like pipe. So they have layers. Okay, several layers of muscles and several layers of cells make them up. Now, in these layers, there are localized nerves that go and reach to the surface of your intestines, and they go and attach to these muscles. So the presence of food here will be felt by these local neurons. Okay, so these local neurons is called as plexus. Okay, so these plexus, what they do is they will be able to feel the presence of food locally. Only this much region they will be able to control, not throughout the length of intestine. Again, this plexus continues here, 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 here. So whenever the food goes from here to here, the signal will be transmitted from here to here. Okay, they can feel the pressure of the food, isn't it? So that localized response, which is done by a cluster of nerves that is present, okay, those are called as plexus. Okay, those are called as plexus. So usually in our intestines, we have two kinds of plexus: Meissner's plexus and myenteric plexus. So they are present in our layers of our intestines, layers of our esophagus, everywhere, everywhere. So they are responsible for understanding how much food is present, where it is present. If it is above me, I will be able to feel it. So if it is time to push it, I will send a signal to my muscles of my intestine that is present below of me, and they contract and the food is pushed. Are you following me? Did you understand this? Yeah. So that is about plexus. See, when I talk about plexus, when I talk about ganglia, when I talk about the sensory nerves that is present in your nose or tongue or eyes, all these fibers or neurons or ganglia or plexus, all are localized. Remember this. Local means they don't carry the nerves all the way from that position till your CNS. No, they just create stimulation. Okay, like visual stimulation, awning, like when you see a color, when you smell a taste. Okay, when you smell something immediately, or when you hear something. Okay, the not here, hearing is different. Smell, eyes, taste. Okay, these are all called as plexus. Okay, or visceral nerves, you can call it as. All right, so next we have to study about neuron. Okay, I think you know already about neuron. You would have studied a lot in your primary classes, not a lot, but you're very familiar with it. So when you talk about neuron or the nerve cell, it is a very basic unit and the functional unit of nerve system that we already know. So it is just like any other cell, but it is a specialized cell because it is having a job for the conduction of a signal. Okay, it has to conduct and receive signals at the same time. So like any other cell, obviously it should have a plasma membrane. So the plasma membrane starts from the tip of a nerve all the way till the end. Okay, it is covered entirely with the plasma membrane. Remember that. And the second thing is, within this plasma membrane, what do we have? We have is the cell body, or the cyton, we call it as. If you look at the cyton, or the cell body of a neuron, the cell body of the neuron has some extensions. Okay, we call it as cytoplasmic extensions. So there are minor cytoplasmic extensions and there are major cytoplasmic extensions. So the minor cytoplasmic extension comes with by the formation, because of the formation of something called as dendrites, okay, or a dendron. So these are called as minor cytoplasmic extension. The major cytoplasmic extension, or a very big cytoplasmic extension, comes because of the formation of a tail like structure or an axon. Okay, so this axon is the major extension of your cell body. So the cell body extends downwards or extends throughout the length, okay, in the form of an axon. And the axon actually terminates at certain point, okay, in the form of a bulbs, which you call it as synaptomic or axon terminal, or synaptic end bulbs, we call it as. Okay, they terminate in the form of bulbs, or we can call it as that they can terminate in the form of axon terminal. So basically what we say that the neuron is made up of three important parts. One is a cyton, axon, and dendrite. Okay, now they have their specific functions to perform. So if I look at the cell body, or the cell of a neuron, basically within the plasma membrane, what is present? The cytoplasm is present. If you look at the cytoplasm, where the nucleus is present, there is a nucleus, very prominent nucleus is present. Around the nucleus is a cytoplasm. And within the nucleus, what you have? You have is a granular-like structure that is distributed heavily within the cell body. So this granular-like structure that is distributed within the cell body is called as Niesel's granules. So these Niesel's granules are very, very important for conduction of nerve signals. Okay, so that is why they are present within the cytoplasm. Got it? And then I told you that this cytoplasm has an extensions, and these extensions are called as dendrites. So they are the very short projections of the cell body, as I said. And these branches of the cell body are called as dendrites. And what do they do is, they receive the signal from the other neuron, and then they help in transmission of the signal from this dendrite through the cell body and down to the axon. This is how the signal, signal transfer takes place from the dendrite into the cell body. Okay, so the signal, what happens? These impulses are collected by the dendrites, and then they navigate these signals through the cell body and along the axons. Okay, their job is to receive signals, okay, and transmit them into the cell body. That's it. And then you can see that there is a major cell extension, okay, or cell body extension, which we call it as the axon. So it's a very long fiber. Okay, so what they do is they propagate the signal. The signal is received, okay, from these dendrites, and it goes through the cell body, and finally it ends up near the axon. So once a signal comes to the axon, what they have to do is they have to propagate this signal from one end of the axon to the another end of the axon. So this ending of the, as they propagate through the end of the axon, you can see that at the terminal portion of the axon, or the axon terminal, you can see that axon is heavily branched. And then they terminate in the form of a bulb, and this bulb is called as synaptic bulb or synaptic knob, okay, where they have vesicles. Okay, within this bulb they have vesicles. Vesicles are small bubbles, you can call, without a membrane, where they store very important neurotransmitters. Okay, so neurotransmitters are present. We'll talk about what are neurotransmitters. No panic. But there are neurotransmitters in these small pouches. Okay, so what happens when the signal is received from the dendrites? It goes through the axon, and axon propagates the signals until its terminal end. As the signal reaches the terminal end, the signals from one neuron to another neuron cannot physically be transmitted. So that is why what happens, they send the signals in the form of chemicals called as neurotransmitters. So these neurotransmitters, which are present in the synaptic bulb, travels from one neuron and then goes and attach to the another neuron, creating the second signal. Okay, that is how the we will talk about how the transmission takes place. Another important thing that you have to understand is, if you look at the axon is not alone, but it is surrounded by circularly, it is surrounded by your specialized cells called as Schwann cells. So the Schwann cells are around this axon, and the role of this Schwann cell is to synthesize an insulating material, like a copper wire has the plastic around it. Similarly, the Schwann cells create this insulation, and this insulation comes in the form of a sheet, and this sheet is called as myelin sheet. So this myelin sheet makes sure that there is no short circuit happening. Okay, that's a way to understand it. The Schwann cells create myelin sheet, and the myelin sheets provide insulation to the neuron. But sometimes what happens is the myelin sheath is not continuous. There are gaps that are present within the myelin sheets. You see, they're not continuous. There are gaps here. So wherever there is gaps around this myelin sheath, this gap between two myelin sheets is called as node of Ranvier. So this node of Ranvier is also very important for the signal to jump, okay, or signal to transmit. Okay, so these are called as nodes of Ranvier. So you understood what is Schwann cells. Schwann cells are the cells that produce myelin sheath, which have insulating material. And then you know that myelin sheath is not continuous. It has certain breaks, and these breaks where the myelin sheath is not present, it is called as nodes of Ranvier. Okay, so this is the structure of neuron, and the types of neuron, classification of neurons, and nerve impulse conduction, I think we'll have to discuss in the next class. Okay, did you guys understand? So what is the function of Niesel's granule? As I told you, Niesel's granules are very important for propagation of signal. So they participate in a way in signal conduction. Okay, so when I talk about nerve impulse conduction, we'll talk about the role of Niesel's granule. That is in the next class. Is it clear? Two people have asked Niesel's granule. Yeah, Niesel's granule actually helps in conduction of impulses. Is it clear? Yeah. Chalo, I think I'm running late for the next class. If you have any doubts, please take it to the next class. Okay, next session, and we will discuss there. Okay.